The smell of melted cheese mixed with ground beef hits you like a time machine, instantly transporting you back to a decade when big hair, neon colors, and one-dish meals ruled the kitchen. The 1980s gave us more than just MTV and shoulder pads. It delivered a treasure chest of budget-friendly recipes that fed families without breaking the bank. 25 forgotten budget recipes from the 1980s you need to eat in your lifetime takes you on a delicious journey through the era when creativity met affordability, and every meal was a masterpiece of resourcefulness. Hamburger Helper. This boxed wonder transformed a pound of ground beef into a feast that could feed a family of 6. The creamy pasta mixed with seasoned meat became the superhero of weeknight dinners. Moms across America discovered they could have dinner on the table in under 30 minutes. And kids actually asked for seconds. Each variety, from stroganoff to cheeseburger macaroni, brought its own magic to the dinner table. The genius lay in its simplicity. Brown the meat, add the noodles and sauce mix, then watch ordinary ingredients become extraordinary comfort food that satisfied both hunger and budgets. Bisquick Impossible Cheeseburger Pie. The name alone sparked curiosity, but the taste created believers. This mysterious dish seemed to break the laws of cooking. You mixed everything together in one bowl, poured it into a pie pan, and somehow it separated into distinct layers while baking. The bottom formed a crust. The middle held seasoned ground beef and vegetables, while the top created its own golden layer. Families gathered around the table, amazed that something so simple could taste so complex. The magic happened in the oven, where Bisquick mix worked its chemistry to create 3 distinct textures in one unforgettable dish. Tater Tot Hot Dish. Minnesota's gift to the world combined frozen tater tots with ground beef, vegetables, and cream soup to create the ultimate comfort casserole. This dish represented everything beautiful about Midwestern cooking: hearty, practical, and designed to feed a crowd. The crispy tots on top gave way to tender meat and vegetables beneath, all held together with creamy mushroom soup. Families discovered that this one-pan wonder could stretch a pound of meat to feed 8 people. The golden brown tots created the perfect contrast to the rich, savory filling underneath, making every bite a perfect balance of textures and flavors. Garbage Plate. This Rochester, New York creation looked chaotic, but tasted like pure genius. A plate piled high with macaroni salad, French fries, baked beans, and hamburgers or hot dogs, all topped with meat sauce and onions. The name warned you what to expect, but families discovered that combining all these comfort foods created something greater than the sum of its parts. Each forkful delivered different textures and flavors that somehow worked together in perfect harmony. The dish proved that sometimes the best meals came from throwing caution to the wind and mixing everything together. Kids loved the freedom to eat multiple favorites on one plate, while parents appreciated how it used up leftovers creatively. Taco Pie. This layered masterpiece brought Mexican flavors to the American dinner table in the most budget-friendly way possible. A simple cornbread crust held seasoned ground beef, cheese, and all the taco fixings in perfect harmony. Families could customize their slices with sour cream, lettuce, and tomatoes, making everyone happy at the dinner table. The genius was in its presentation. It looked fancy enough for company, but cost less than ordering pizza. Each slice delivered the satisfying crunch of cornbread with the zesty kick of taco seasoning, proving that fusion cuisine didn't require expensive ingredients to be delicious. Chicken and rice casserole. One dish, endless possibilities. This casserole became the foundation for countless family dinners. Rice absorbed flavors from chicken broth, while tender pieces of chicken nested throughout, creating a meal that satisfied both comfort food cravings and nutritional needs. The beauty lay in its adaptability. Leftover vegetables found new life mixed into the creamy rice base. Families discovered they could make this dish with whatever they had in the pantry, from frozen mixed vegetables to leftover roasted chicken. The result was always the same: a warm, filling meal that brought everyone together around the dinner table. French bread pizza. When pizza cravings struck but the budget was tight, French bread came to the rescue. Split lengthwise and topped with sauce, cheese, and whatever toppings were hiding in the refrigerator, ordinary bread transformed into extraordinary individual pizzas. Kids learned they could be their own pizza chefs, creating personal masterpieces with pepperoni, mushrooms, or leftover vegetables. The crusty bread provided the perfect base, getting crispy on the bottom while staying chewy in the middle. These personal pizzas satisfied that takeout craving while teaching families that homemade could be just as good as delivery. Chicken broccoli rice casserole. This triple threat casserole proved that healthy eating didn't have to be expensive or complicated. Tender chicken pieces mixed with bright green broccoli and fluffy rice, all bound together with creamy soup and topped with cheese. Parents discovered they could sneak vegetables into dinner without protests from the kids. The dish transformed simple ingredients into something special, with the cheese melting down through the layers to create pockets of gooey goodness. Each serving provided complete nutrition in one convenient package, making it the perfect solution for busy weeknights when time and money were both in short supply. Impossible coconut pie. Magic happened in the oven when this simple mixture of coconut, eggs, milk, and biscuit transformed into a 3-layer dessert. The bottom became a tender crust, the middle turned into a creamy custard filling, and the top formed a golden coconut layer. Families watched in amazement as one simple batter created what looked like a professionally made pie. The tropical coconut flavor brought a taste of paradise to everyday dinners, proving that impressive desserts didn't require complicated techniques or expensive ingredients. Each slice delivered the perfect balance of textures, from the crispy coconut top to the smooth custard center. Sloppy Joes. Ground beef swimming in tangy tomato sauce, piled high on soft hamburger buns, created the messiest, most beloved sandwich of the decade. The name warned you what to expect, but nobody cared about neat eating when the flavors were this good. Families gathered around the kitchen table with plenty of napkins, laughing as they tried to eat these deliciously sloppy creations. The sweet and tangy sauce complemented the savory meat perfectly, while the soft buns soaked up every drop of flavor. This wasn't just a meal, it was an experience that brought families together through shared messiness and pure enjoyment. Chili Mac Skillet. Two comfort food favorites joined forces in this one-pan wonder that combined hearty chili with tender elbow macaroni. The dish captured everything families loved about both dishes while making dinner clean up a breeze. Beans added protein and fiber, while the pasta made it filling enough to satisfy the heartiest appetites. The beauty was in its simplicity, everything cooked together in one skillet, allowing flavors to meld and intensify. Topped with cheese and served with cornbread, this became the answer to cold nights when families needed something warm, filling, and completely satisfying without breaking the dinner budget. Spinach dip in a bread bowl. Party food that doubled as dinner, this creamy spinach dip, nested inside a hollowed-out round loaf, became the centerpiece of countless gatherings. The combination of spinach, sour cream, and seasonings created a dip so addictive that families found themselves making it for regular dinners. The bread bowl wasn't just a container, it became part of the meal as guests tore off pieces to scoop up the creamy goodness inside. This dish proved that appetizers could be substantial enough to serve as the main course, especially when paired with fresh vegetables and additional bread for dipping. Chicken Marbella. This sophisticated dish brought Spanish flavors to American tables without requiring a passport or expensive ingredients. Chicken pieces marinated in olive oil, vinegar, and herbs, then baked with olives, capers, and prunes, created an exotic meal that impressed guests while staying within budget. The sweet and savory combination surprised palates accustomed to simpler flavors, introducing families to international cuisine. Despite its elegant appearance, the dish required minimal preparation, mostly marinating time that allowed the flavors to develop. Each piece of chicken emerged from the oven tender and infused with Mediterranean sunshine, proving that budget cooking could be worldly and sophisticated. Lasagna soup. All the flavors of traditional lasagna found new form in this hearty soup that delivered the same satisfaction without the layering hassle. Ground beef, Italian sausage, tomatoes, and pasta cooked together in one pot, while ricotta and mozzarella cheese were stirred in just before serving. Families discovered they could enjoy their favorite casserole flavors in a fraction of the time, with cleanup limited to just one pot. The soup could simmer all day, developing deep flavors that rivaled traditional lasagna, while being infinitely more practical for busy weeknights. Each bowl delivered all the familiar tastes: meat, cheese, pasta, and tomato sauce in a comforting liquid form that warmed both body and soul. Skillet stroganoff. Classic beef stroganoff got a budget-friendly makeover when families discovered they could create the same creamy, mushroom-rich flavors using ground beef instead of expensive cuts. The one-skillet method meant less cleanup, while the familiar flavors satisfied everyone's comfort food cravings. Egg noodles provided the perfect base for the rich, creamy sauce that coated every strand. Families found they could make this restaurant favorite at home for a fraction of the cost, with results that were just as satisfying. The key was in the timing, keeping the sour cream from curdling while building layers of flavor that made every bite as good as the last. Turkey meatloaf. Ground turkey offered a leaner, more affordable alternative to traditional beef meatloaf, while delivering the same comfort food satisfaction, mixed with breadcrumbs, eggs, and seasonings, then topped with a tangy glaze. This version proved that healthier choices didn't mean sacrificing flavor. Families discovered they could stretch the meat even further by adding finely chopped vegetables to the mixture. The result was a moist, flavorful loaf that sliced beautifully and provided leftovers for sandwiches the next day. Served with mashed potatoes and green beans, this became the foundation of countless Sunday dinners that brought families together around the table. Chicken bacon ranch casserole. 3 beloved flavors combined in this creamy casserole that became an instant family favorite. Tender chicken pieces mixed with crispy bacon bits and ranch seasoning, all held together with pasta and cheese, created a dish that satisfied every craving. Kids who usually turned their noses up at casseroles cleaned their plates when this appeared on the dinner table. The ranch flavor tied everything together, while the bacon added that irresistible smoky crunch. This dish proved that comfort food could be both familiar and exciting, combining ingredients everyone loved in new and delicious ways that made weeknight dinners something to look forward to. Tuna helper pot pie bake. Canned tuna got the royal treatment in this budget-friendly version of chicken pot pie. Mixed with vegetables and creamy sauce, then topped with biscuit pieces, this dish transformed humble ingredients into something that felt special enough for Sunday dinner. Families discovered that fish could be just as satisfying as meat when prepared with the right seasonings and presentation. The flaky biscuit topping provided the perfect contrast to the creamy filling underneath, while vegetables added color and nutrition. This became the answer for families looking to incorporate more seafood into their diets without spending a fortune on fresh fish. English muffin pizzas. Split English muffins became the perfect personal pizza base for quick lunches and after-school snacks. Topped with sauce, cheese, and whatever small bits of toppings were available, these mini pizzas satisfied cravings while teaching kids basic cooking skills. The nooks and crannies in the muffins held the sauce perfectly, creating little pockets of flavor in every bite. Families found these were perfect for using up odds and ends from the refrigerator. A slice of leftover ham, a few mushrooms, or some bell pepper pieces all found new life as pizza toppings. Each person could customize their own, making snack time both personal and delicious. Crunchy top baked mac and cheese. Boxed mac and cheese got an upgrade when families started topping it with crushed crackers or breadcrumbs before baking. This simple addition transformed the familiar comfort food into something that felt more special, with a crispy top layer giving way to creamy cheese underneath. The contrast in textures made every bite interesting, while the baking process intensified the cheese flavors. Families discovered they could make this ahead of time, making it perfect for potluck dinners and busy weeknights. The golden, crunchy topping made this version look as good as it tasted, elevating humble mac and cheese into something that could grace any dinner table. Fajita night, chicken and veggie skillet. Mexican restaurant flavors came home in this sizzling skillet meal that turned dinner into an interactive experience. Strips of chicken and colorful bell peppers cooked together with onions and spices, served with warm tortillas and all the fixings. Families gathered around the table, building their own fajitas and customizing each bite to their personal taste preferences. The beauty was in its flexibility. Any leftover vegetables could join the party, and the seasoning blend worked magic on even the most budget-friendly cuts of meat. This wasn't just dinner, it was entertainment that brought everyone together for a shared cooking and eating experience. Tuna macaroni salad with peas. Cold salads became dinner when families discovered how satisfying this protein-packed combination could be. Tender elbow macaroni mixed with flaked tuna, bright green peas, and creamy dressing created a meal that was perfect for hot summer nights when nobody wanted to turn on the oven. The dish could be made hours ahead, making it ideal for busy families who needed to prep dinner in advance. Each forkful delivered protein, vegetables, and satisfying carbohydrates in perfect balance. This became the go-to meal for picnics, potlucks, and anytime families wanted something filling but refreshing that could feed a crowd without heating up the kitchen. Dorito enchilada casserole. Nacho cheese. Doritos became the star ingredient in this layered casserole that combined Mexican flavors with the irresistible crunch of America's favorite chip. Layers of crushed chips alternated with seasoned ground beef, cheese, and enchilada sauce to create a dish that was part comfort food, part party snack. Kids who might resist traditional enchiladas embraced this version enthusiastically, drawn by the familiar orange crunch of their favorite chips. The dish proved that sometimes the most unexpected ingredients could create the most memorable meals. Each layer brought its own flavor and texture, resulting in a casserole that satisfied both hunger and the need for something fun and different. Porcupine meatballs. These weren't actual porcupines, but rice sticking out of the meatballs after cooking made them look like the spiky creatures. Ground beef mixed with uncooked rice, then simmered in tomato sauce until the rice expanded and poked through the surface. Kids loved the silly name, and parents loved how the rice stretched the meat to feed more people. The rice absorbed flavors from both the meat and sauce, creating tender meatballs with built-in starch. Each bite delivered protein and carbohydrates in perfect harmony, while the tomato sauce tied everything together. This dish turned ordinary ingredients into something memorable that had children asking for porcupines for dinner. Creamy chicken and mushroom skillet. Boneless chicken pieces simmered with mushrooms in a creamy sauce that turned simple ingredients into something special enough for company. The dish proved that elegant dinners could happen on weeknight budgets when families knew the right combinations of affordable ingredients. Fresh mushrooms added earthy flavor, while the creamy sauce made everything feel luxurious and satisfying. Served over rice or noodles, this became a complete meal that impressed guests while keeping grocery costs reasonable. The key was browning the chicken first to develop deep flavors, then letting everything simmer together until the sauce reached perfect consistency and the chicken became fork tender throughout. Shepherd's pie casserole. Ground beef seasoned with vegetables and gravy, topped with a blanket of creamy mashed potatoes, created this British-inspired comfort food that American families adopted as their own. The dish used simple ingredients, but combined them in layers that created something much greater than the sum of its parts. Frozen mixed vegetables stretched the meat while adding color and nutrition that parents appreciated. The mashed potato topping got golden and slightly crispy on top while staying creamy underneath. providing the perfect contrast to the savory meat layer below. This became the ultimate comfort food for cold nights when families needed something warm and filling that hugged them from the inside out. Broccoli rice cheese casserole. This green and gold casserole turned vegetables into something kids actually wanted to eat, thanks to plenty of melted cheese and fluffy rice. Frozen broccoli lost its frozen taste when mixed with cheese sauce and baked until bubbly and golden. Rice absorbed flavors while adding substance that made this side dish hearty enough to serve as a vegetarian main course. Families discovered they could sneak extra nutrition into dinner without complaints when cheese was involved in the equation. The casserole could be assembled ahead of time, making it perfect for busy days when dinner needed to be ready quickly. Each serving provided vegetables, dairy, and grains in one delicious package. Mexican cornbread casserole. Sweet cornbread batter mixed with corn kernels, green chilies, and cheese, then baked until golden, created this cross between bread and casserole that satisfied both starch and vegetable requirements. The slight sweetness from the cornbread balanced perfectly with the mild heat from the chilies, making it appealing to both adults and children. This dish could serve as a side with chili or stand alone as a light dinner with a salad on the side. Families loved how easy it was to make. Everything mixed together in one bowl, then poured into a baking dish. The result was a golden, slightly spicy bread that was moist throughout and crispy on top. Chicken spaghetti casserole. Spaghetti noodles mixed with chunks of chicken, cream soup, and cheese, then baked until bubbly transformed leftover chicken into a completely new meal that nobody recognized as leftovers. The pasta absorbed flavors from the creamy sauce, while the cheese melted down through every layer. Families could add whatever vegetables were available. Bell peppers, mushrooms, or frozen peas all found a happy home in this forgiving dish. The casserole could feed a crowd, making it perfect for potluck dinners and large family gatherings. Each serving delivered complete nutrition in a comforting package that satisfied both hunger and the need for something warm and familiar on busy weeknights. Hamburger soup. This hearty soup turned ground beef into a meal that could stretch to feed unexpected guests, with vegetables and broth creating a satisfying bowl that warmed both body and soul. Potatoes, carrots, and celery provided substance, while beef broth tied all the flavors together in perfect harmony. Families discovered they could make a huge pot that provided several meals, with flavors actually improving after a day in the refrigerator. The soup was endlessly adaptable. Whatever vegetables needed using up could join the party. Each bowl delivered complete nutrition in liquid comfort, proving that soup could be substantial enough to serve as the entire dinner when paired with fresh bread. Chicken and dumplings casserole. Tender chicken pieces swimming in creamy sauce, topped with fluffy biscuit pieces that steamed to perfection during baking, brought southern comfort to family dinner tables across America. The dish captured all the flavors of traditional chicken and dumplings while simplifying the preparation for busy weeknight cooking. Biscuit mix transformed into tender dumplings that soaked up the rich chicken gravy underneath, creating a complete meal in one comforting casserole. Families gathered around steaming bowls of this hearty dish, finding that it satisfied both physical hunger and emotional needs for comfort food. Each spoonful delivered chicken, vegetables, and starch in perfect proportion, making this a complete meal that required only a simple salad alongside. Johnny Marzetti. This Ohio casserole combined ground beef, pasta, tomatoes, and cheese in layers that created the ultimate comfort food experience. Named after a restaurant owner, the dish became a staple at church suppers and family gatherings across the Midwest. Egg noodles provided the perfect base for the rich meat sauce, while cheese melted down through every layer to bind everything together. Families could assemble it ahead of time, making it perfect for entertaining or busy weeknights when dinner needed to be ready quickly. The beauty was in its simplicity. Basic ingredients transformed into something that satisfied the deepest comfort food cravings while feeding a crowd without breaking the budget. Goulash. American goulash bore little resemblance to its Hungarian ancestor, but families didn't care when faced with this hearty combination of ground beef, elbow macaroni, and tomatoes. The one-pot wonder cooked everything together, allowing flavors to meld while keeping cleanup to a minimum. Paprika added authentic flavor, while bell peppers and onions provided color and crunch that balanced the tender pasta and meat. Families discovered they could make huge batches that provided multiple meals, with leftovers tasting even better the next day. Each bowl delivered complete nutrition in a comforting package that warmed both body and soul, proving that simple ingredients could create extraordinary satisfaction. Stuffed zucchini boats. Summer's abundant zucchini harvest found new purpose when hollowed out and stuffed with a mixture of ground meat, vegetables, and cheese. The zucchini shells became edible bowls that added nutrition while stretching the meat filling to feed more people. Families with gardens discovered this was the perfect way to use up those giant zucchini that seemed to appear overnight. The stuffing could include whatever leftovers needed using. Leftover rice, vegetables, or even other casserole remnants found new life inside these green boats. Each serving provided vegetables and protein in one attractive package that looked fancy enough for company, but used humble ingredients that kept costs low. Gooey butter cake. This St. Louis specialty started with a cake mix base, but achieved legendary status through its signature gooey top layer made from cream cheese, butter, eggs, and powdered sugar. The bottom stayed cake-like, while the top remained deliciously underbaked and gooey, creating two distinct textures in one dessert. Families discovered that this simple dessert impressed guests more than complicated recipes that required expensive ingredients and advanced techniques. The cake could be made in a regular sheet pan, making it perfect for feeding crowds at potluck dinners and family gatherings. Each square delivered pure indulgence that satisfied sweet cravings, while proving that sometimes the simplest desserts were the most memorable. Chicken bog. This South Carolina specialty combined chicken, rice, and sausage in one pot to create a dish that fed families for days while delivering incredible flavor. The rice absorbed all the flavors from the chicken and sausage, creating a hearty meal that satisfied the deepest hunger. Families gathered around huge pots of this communal dish, finding that it brought people together through shared cooking and eating experiences. The beauty was in its simplicity, just a few ingredients cooked together until the rice reached perfect tenderness and the flavors melded completely. Each serving provided complete nutrition in a rustic package that connected families to Southern traditions while keeping grocery budgets reasonable. Mock apple pie. When apples were expensive and crackers were cheap, clever cooks discovered that Ritz crackers soaked in a cinnamon sugar syrup could fool anyone into thinking they were eating apple pie. This brilliant deception became a household staple during tough times, proving that imagination could triumph over empty wallets. The magic happened in the chemistry between buttery crackers and the sweet, spiced syrup that transformed their texture into something remarkably apple-like. Families would gather around the dinner table, completely convinced they were enjoying a slice of traditional apple pie, never knowing they were actually eating a masterpiece of culinary illusion. What made this recipe special wasn't just its affordability, but how it brought families together around a shared secret. Kids would help crack the crackers, mothers would carefully measure the syrup, and everyone would wait in anticipation to see if the trick would work again. This wasn't just about saving money, it was about creating magic from ordinary ingredients. Fried green tomatoes. When tomato plants produced more green tomatoes than could ripen, clever cooks discovered that these unripe fruits could be transformed into a delicious side dish. Sliced green tomatoes were coated in cornmeal and fried until golden, creating a crispy exterior that contrasted beautifully with the tart, firm interior. The key to perfect fried green tomatoes was in the preparation. The tomatoes needed to be sliced thick enough to hold their shape, but thin enough to cook through. The cornmeal coating provided texture and flavor, while the frying process caramelized the tomatoes just enough to balance their natural tartness. Families would serve them as a side dish with dinner or as a snack, What made fried green tomatoes special was how they turned what might have been waste into something absolutely delicious. The contrast between the crispy coating and the tangy tomato inside created a unique flavor and texture combination that became addictive. The dish reminded families that good food could come from making the most of what they had, even if it wasn't what they originally planned. Milk toast. This simple comfort food consisted of toasted bread soaked in warm, seasoned milk, creating a soft, nurturing dish that was perfect for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. While it might sound bland to modern palates, families knew how to season it with butter, salt, pepper, and sometimes a sprinkle of cinnamon or sugar to make it delicious. The beauty of milk toast was in its versatility and digestibility. It was perfect for children, elderly family members, or anyone recovering from illness. The warm milk softened the bread to a pudding-like consistency, while the seasonings provided comfort and flavor. Many families had their own secret variations, adding vanilla, nutmeg, or even a touch of honey. What made milk toast special was how it represented care and nurturing. Mothers would prepare it for sick children or family members who needed something gentle and comforting. The dish became associated with love and attention, a way to show care through the simplest possible means. It reminded families that the best comfort food didn't need to be complicated. It just needed to be made with love. Wacky cake. Depression-era bakers discovered that you could make a delicious chocolate cake without eggs, butter, or milk, ingredients that were either too expensive or simply unavailable. Using just flour, sugar, cocoa powder, baking soda, salt, water, oil, and vinegar, this cake proved that constraints could spark incredible creativity. The secret ingredient was the chemical reaction between the vinegar and baking soda, which created the perfect rise and texture that eggs would normally provide. Families would mix this cake directly in the baking pan, making cleanup a breeze and ensuring that even the youngest family members could help with the preparation. What made wacky cake truly special was how it democratized dessert. When other families couldn't afford to bake, this recipe ensured that everyone could enjoy a homemade cake. The chocolate flavor was rich and satisfying, and many people claimed it tasted better than expensive cakes made with premium ingredients. It became a symbol of resilience, showing that sweetness could emerge from the simplest combinations. Red-eye gravy. Southern cooks discovered that the drippings from country ham, combined with coffee, could create a unique gravy that was both flavorful and economical. This thin, reddish-brown gravy was served over biscuits or grits, providing a hearty breakfast that could fuel a family through a long day of work. The secret was using strong, black coffee and the right ratio of ham drippings to create a gravy that was neither too thick nor too thin. The coffee added a slight bitterness that balanced the saltiness of the ham, while the drippings provided richness and flavor. Families would serve it alongside eggs and biscuits for a complete breakfast. What made red-eye gravy special was how it transformed what might have been discarded, the pan drippings from cooking ham, into an essential part of the meal. The combination of coffee and ham created a unique flavor that was distinctly Southern and completely satisfying. It demonstrated how resourceful cooks could create something special from ingredients that others might overlook. King Ranch chicken. Down in Texas, this dish earned its royal title not through fancy ingredients, but through sheer practicality. Named after the legendary King Ranch, this layered casserole turned leftover chicken into a crown jewel of comfort food. Housewives would combine shredded chicken with cream of mushroom soup, diced tomatoes with green chilies, and layer it between corn tortillas and cheese. The magic happened in the oven, where these humble ingredients transformed into something that could make a cowboy weep with joy. The beauty of King Ranch chicken lay in its forgiving nature. No two families made it exactly the same way. Some added bell peppers, others threw in whatever vegetables were lurking in the crisper drawer. The dish became a neighborhood legend because it could stretch to feed unexpected dinner guests and still taste like you'd planned it all along. Today's food bloggers would call it rustic and charge extra for it. Corned beef hash. Sunday's leftover corned beef found new life in Monday's breakfast skillet. Diced potatoes, usually cooked until they developed a golden crust, mixed with chunks of corned beef, created a hearty meal that could fuel hard-working people through long days. The key was getting the potatoes crispy on the bottom while keeping them tender throughout. Smart cooks would add diced onions for sweetness and maybe a bell pepper for color. The hash would sizzle and pop in the cast-iron skillet, developing those crispy edges that made each bite a perfect combination of textures. Topped with a fried egg, this dish transformed breakfast into something substantial enough to be called dinner. It was the kind of meal that reminded people why simple cooking was often the best cooking. Grilled cheese and tomato soup. This pairing became iconic for good reason. The combination of crispy, buttery sandwich and smooth, creamy soup created perfect comfort food harmony. The key to great grilled cheese was using real butter and cooking it slowly so the cheese melted completely while the bread developed a golden crust. The tomato soup, whether homemade or from a can, provided the perfect acidic counterpoint to the rich sandwich. The ritual of dunking the sandwich into the soup created those perfect moments of childhood bliss that adults still crave. The contrast of temperatures and textures, hot, crispy bread against cool, smooth soup, made every bite a small celebration. It was the kind of meal that could cure whatever ailed you, from bad weather to bad days. Pimento cheese sandwiches. The South's contribution to sandwich perfection, pimento cheese combined sharp cheddar, cream cheese, mayonnaise, and diced pimentos into something that was greater than the sum of its parts. Spread between slices of soft white bread, this sandwich was both elegant and accessible. The key was getting the cheese mixture to the right consistency, smooth enough to spread, but chunky enough to have texture. These sandwiches were perfect for lunchboxes, afternoon snacks, or light dinners. The combination of sharp and creamy flavors with the sweet pop of pimentos created something that was simultaneously sophisticated and comforting. It was the kind of food that reminded people that the best things in life were often the simplest. Tater tot hot dish. Minnesota's gift to the culinary world, this casserole embodied everything great about 1970s cooking. It was easy, economical, and absolutely delicious. Ground beef was browned with onions, mixed with cream of mushroom soup and frozen mixed vegetables, then topped with a crown of tater tots that baked to golden perfection. The result was a dish that could silence a table full of hungry people in minutes. What made tater tot hot dish special was its ability to unite families around the dinner table. Kids loved the crispy tots on top, adults appreciated the hearty filling underneath, and everyone went back for seconds. It was the kind of dish that traveled well to potluck dinners and church suppers, always returning home in an empty dish. The beauty was in its simplicity, no fancy techniques required, just honest ingredients combined with a mother's love. Fish sticks and mac and cheese. This combination might sound like a child's fantasy, but in the 1970s, it represented practical cooking at its finest. Frozen fish sticks, baked until golden and crispy, paired with homemade macaroni and cheese, created a meal that satisfied both nutritional needs and budget constraints. The key was making the mac and cheese from scratch with real cheese and a proper white sauce. The contrast of textures made this meal special. The crispy fish sticks against the creamy, cheesy pasta created a combination that kept everyone happy. Kids loved the familiar flavors, while adults appreciated the economy and nutrition. Served with frozen peas or green beans, this meal proved that convenience foods could be part of a loving, home-cooked dinner when used thoughtfully.